Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Say What? I'm Theraguin, the Otaku Gen Xer. In this video, we're going to be covering the Japanese horror culture and how it differs from the West. Now, typically, they spend all of their time dealing with their horror stuff during the summer. So that's why you have these test of courage walks at night in a lot of anime episodes, and they happen during the summer break when they're out on a trip or something like that with their clubs. Versus us in the US, our scary time of the year is the month of October with Halloween. And that goes into the Western's culture background is in the culture of Wicca and Druids and all of that the church tried to adopt and pull in, and you have All Saints Day and things like that. Well, in Japanese culture, they follow not the religion of Christianity, pulling in all the various pagan things to convert the populace. They follow Shintoism, and Shintoism believes in spirits. Now, as you can see, I've got these mystical spirits floating behind me, but we're not talking like those type of spirits. We're talking more like your Native American type of spirits that inhabit places, objects, animals, and these. The base name for these spirits are yokai. So you'll hear things about yokai. And yokai fall into a ton of different categories. But the interesting thing in the Japanese culture is that they're gods, and it's very much gods because they're gods of everything. But then again, they're spirits of everything. Gods, kami, or kami-sama, it's also their term for hair. I find that kind of interesting. That their gods are basically yokai that have gotten enough power to be considered enshrined as a guardian spirit, a god spirit, a kami-sama. They also adapt in some of the 12 gods of the zodiac from the Chinese culture and things like that. So they pull in, the more the spirit, the more gods, the more the spirits, the better. That's why they embrace their arms to Western Christianity. It's like, it's just another god to throw into our mix of already a ton of gods. You can see this in a lot of their anime where they mix Greco-Roman, Christian, Norse, and Japanese gods all into one big shebang. Kapane is one example anime that I like that kind of does all that stuff. But we're here to talk about the spooky things. There are two stories that I want to tell, and I'll try to tell them in my dark and mysterious voice. Hopefully, I can find some pictures that go along with this to make it a little bit more exciting and interesting. The first story is the parade of 100 yokai, the night of pandemonium. Basically, in their culture, and you kind of see this in the Gantz Zero movie that I talked about in this week's of Otaku Gen Xer, they basically had a night of pandemonium, the 100 yokai. And basically, the yokai invade a town and cause destruction and destroy things and, cause the humans to go crazy. And I think it's just an excuse for human lustful desires to go out of control. Maybe in times of war and famine and other things like that. But that is the first story. And there's a really interesting anime that explores the depths of that. If you want to know what that anime is, check out the links in the description. I'll link the anime. I believe it's on Hulu. Rise of the Yōkai clan or something like that. It's really interesting. It covers and dives more into the history of the Yōkai. Now, and maybe next year, I'll do a whole thing on the Otaku Gen X show. So, you'll have to wait a year. Ha 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 ha. Anyway, so, let's get to my favorite story. And for this, I shall go into story voice. A long time ago, in the mountains of Japan, there was this man trying to get safely across the mountain to his family. He was in his early 20s, 21-ish, and he came across this beautiful woman. She was clad in snowy white garments, hair as bright as silver, eyes as clear as sapphires, and he fell instantly in love with her. And the storms were brewing up, and she's like, you have found me, but you're kind of cute and nice, as long as you don't tell anyone about me, Yuki, the Snow Woman, then you shall be free and have no issues. She took care of the man through the storm, and then sent him on his way with his promise not to betray her. A year goes by, and the man meets this beautiful Bishoujo and falls deeply in love, proposes to her, and they get married. And they are living together at the edge of the mountain. And his wife one day asks him, "Have you ever loved any other woman besides me?" And he was like, "Well, there is this one special woman, Yuki. She lives in the mountain and she's a snow maiden, but I'm not supposed to tell anyone about her because something bad could happen according to her, but I don't see any harm in telling you, my lovely bride and wife." And she cries, "How could you, my love?" as she turns into Yuki, the Snow Woman, and begins to melt in his arms, ever to evaporate and be no more. And that is the story of Yuki, the Snow Woman. Now, other traditions of the Snow Woman have her freezing people to death and stealing men's vitality by tricking them into a frozen, some water and then freezing them in it and keeping them eternally. But this is the more sadder version that I love to tell because it pulls on the romance heartstrings. But it illustrates a very interesting point about yokai. They're neither good or evil in our understanding of things. They are mystical powers and forces according to the Japanese culture. And so, depending on if they're good or evil, depends on how you treat them and what things you do to respect them or disrespect them. So, remember, when you're at that Shinto shrine in Japan, say a little thanks to the local yokai, the kami, the oni. I've been Theraguin, the Otaku Gen Xer. I hope you have a spectacular Halloween this year in 2020. Don't let the evil get to you. I'll see you this Friday for the unboxing of the Aki Bento October Spooky Box. Look forward to it. Oh, and also, subscribe, like, share the video. That'd be really cool too. Remember, always be yourself. In virtual reality, and definitely be yourself. In real life. Later.